Please note that the following views and the opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily the views nor the opinions of the Master Force Group, YouTube.com, Free America Radio Network, our sponsors, our partners, and MFG is a private society, and nothing here is ever to be construed as hate, medical, nor legal advice. And listen to the Forbidden History prime time 7 days a week right here on the RealPublicRadio.net, because hidden beneath the sands of time lies the greatest of all mysteries. It's the Forbidden History. Unearth for yourself the secret truths that lie hidden just beneath the surface below our feet. What is it that the powers that be do not want you or I to know? Come and journey with us as we explore and dare to know, because it's all right here, coming your way, somewhere out there, 7 days a week on the RealPublicRadio.net, Free America Radio Network. It's what they didn't want you to know that we tell right here, because somebody's got to do it, ladies and gentlemen, and that's why we're here. Still time to call your friends and stand by for the broadcast. Next.
The missing dimension in world politics is the spiritual dimension. The problems of life cannot be solved by material means. Modern civilization is missing the point of life. Human life is meant for understanding spiritual values. Real knowledge is knowing yourself, what you are, what God is, and understanding your relationship and duty to God. It is our duty to understand God, abide by His laws, and learn to love Him. Then all of our problems will be solved. When men are not governed by God, they will be ruled by tyrants. The material world is just like a prison. The spirit soul is imprisoned in a material body which is imprisoned in the material world. We do not belong in this material world. We are spirit souls and belong to the spiritual world. Modern civilization is wrongly directed to the fulfillment of sense gratification, the basis of material life and a barrier to spiritual realization. The demonic believe that the enjoyment of the senses is the ultimate goal of life. However, it is not possible to become peaceful and happy in the attempt to gratify the temporary senses. The result is usually the opposite. A materialistic culture based on sense gratification agitates the mind and senses. Unless one controls the mind and senses, one cannot make any spiritual advancement. The great sages of all bona fide religions were completely free of material attachments because they knew that spirit is permanent while matter is temporary. Our present culture would have us debase ourselves and become more and more entangled in materialism, so that the path to the spiritual world is blocked. The demonic wish to make this planet a closed system, where it cannot function for the purpose it was intended. The material world was created to give man the opportunity to purify himself of his material consciousness. For the aim of life is to go back home, back to God. The demonic cannot go back home until they rid themselves of their demonic mentality, and so they wish to make it impossible for anyone else to return home. This is the ultimate goal of psychological warfare: to entangle man in materialism so that he cannot return home, back to the Supreme Lord. Mind control in America. Break it.
And welcome to the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen, on Ask Dezert-Owl on Forbidden History Live series on the Original Thought Transliteration Project, OTTP. And want to welcome all of you, and hope that everybody is doing well out there. Our reach is around the globe. We have friends in different parts of the world, and at the same time, here in the Great Gulag of America. And I'm your host, Dezert-Owl, and we're trying to bring you some of the most important information that is available, because basically we've had a trick played on us, and then we were raised by television and the movies and the education system, what they removed from your consciousness. You know, I remember they never taught us about the real nature of money. They never talked about the true nature of law, and that all the history about America was basically a bunch of hogwash, you know. And so it's a quite a objective to be able to unravel the mystery of life, ladies and gentlemen, what affects us every moment of our day somehow. And so we're bringing it on, and hope that you're telling your friends about the broadcast, and we will open up later on for calls and comments. The chat is always good to go for a comment. Just put your the word question in all capital letters, and then upper and lower case for your question, okay? And love to hear from you. And if you want to call in, of course, the phone number is 608-566-7295, 608-566-7295. And international, you can call on Skype, all one word, Free America Radio, Free America Radio. Right, we are starting earlier. I noticed that starting earlier, there's fewer people jumping on here in the States, because California is like 5 a.m. right now in West Coast time. So people are mostly sleeping across, and they probably want to sleep in, considering how bad the world is. They probably want to sleep in on Sunday, you know. So, but anyway, we have some friends who'll be coming by later on in the program, and they know we usually take care of business anyway at the front end, and so they'll be coming in shortly. And then, of course, the friends that listen to the broadcast after the program, So and do remember, ladies and gentlemen, you can send that link to anybody, anywhere. Okay, we need to get the word out about what we're doing with this project, and absolutely, we're going to. We finally started the ABCs of Light on Wednesday. We did the A, V, and the Zorro, the first 3 letters of the original alphabet, and we did that on Wednesday, so it's there. It's the last program we did, so this is what, 118, that was 117 for last Wednesday, okay? And so check it out, and realize that symbols is the thing that we need to know the meaning of. We need to look deeply at the issue of these letters, at these symbols, and get their meaning. We're gonna do a sample read today of first from Gaskell. We're gonna do another definition on the number 8 out of Gaskell. So that was posted by Ninja, and if you want to go to thearchive.org, click on that. That'll open up the web page for that, and then it's on page 245 for the next read on the definition of 8. Okay, so you can open up the book over there on the web domain, or you can get the PDF download, and then you can have it on your computer or print it out, you know. And well, that's a lot. That's 1,000 pages of printing out, so probably you won't want to do that. Okay, and so we're gonna. That's up next, and then when we come back a little later on with after we do Dane in our break, then we're going to do a reading. We'll do every Sunday another Ode of Solomon. We did a sample on Wednesday, and there's 42 of them, so it'll take the most of the year if we have that much longer, but we have to at least plan ahead, right? And so we'll do the Odes of Solomon are not by Solomon. They are by people who had the Spirit. This is post Yeshua rising from the dead when he came back. Okay, and then this is, so you'll see that. You'll see the element in here, and it should be at the back of our New Testament. These are the shultres, the scriptures that should be back. Okay, and then we're going to bump over to the writings of the Essenes, and we're going to they've written some beautiful. It's sort of like the Odes of Solomon, but they're different. Like it's like a poetry, but these are their visions or metaphorical expressions in a poetic prose type form, and very inspirational. And so we're going to read that, and then we're going to have another sample read of the Lost Gospel, okay, and then we'll do words, okay. If we have time left, then we'll do examples of original thought, okay. And so that's our lineup. And so when we let's see here. When we come back, we'll go ahead and we're going to go to Dane Wigington now. And when we get back, we will start our sample reads. Okay. So glad you're tuned in. Hope you're telling your friends about the broadcast, and we'll be right back after this important message from Dane Wigington at geoengineeringwatch.org.
It lays the predicate and the foundation for the development of a weather satellite that will permit man to determine the world's cloud layer and ultimately to control the weather, and he who controls the weather will control the world.
A technologically advanced society is choosing to destroy itself. It's both fascinating and horrifying to watch. More from this Conversation.com report to come. Non-stop scripted political theater continues to capture the attention of far too many. When will they notice the oncoming train of total collapse? We'll soon enough find out. What about Hurricane Nicole? Just a late season weather anomaly? Are there agendas and objectives much more far-reaching than just Nicole's impact on Floridians? Stay tuned. The International Climate Conference, COP27, started this week. What's it really about? Here's a hint. A behind-closed-doors climate engineering convention with the undercurrent of keep business as usual, loot, plunder, pillage, and pollute until nothing is left. For those that don't yet know of the coming scheduled weather for the contiguous 48 U.S. states, a massive chemical ice nucleation cooldown is scheduled. It's already underway in the West and scheduled to come soon for the eastern U.S. And all of this is to occur while nearly the entire northern hemisphere is scheduled to remain at far above normal temperatures. An example from this week, Denver and Chicago went from the 70s to snow. So here's my question. Is this a geoengineering demonstration for the COP27 attendees? A demonstration of how America's monstrous military juggernaut can chemically cool North America, with the exception of Alaska, which is still above normal temperatures? There's only so many jets that they can put in the air, but the powers that be are always working toward increasing their climate engineering fleet. Count on that. Now let's add this. At the Cancun and Copenhagen Climate COP conferences, there were record cold temperatures at the conference at the time of the event, in spite of above normal surrounding temperatures. Another climate engineering demonstration for the climate conference attendees? I'll let listeners decide. For those that are not familiar with patented processes of chemical ice nucleation cloud seeding, aka engineering winter, please take the time to examine the Engineering Winter section on the homepage of geoengineeringwatch.org. For multiple sources, this headline from this week: UN Weather Report, Climate Woes, Bad and Getting Far Worse Faster. From that report, the latest State of the Global Climate Report is a chronicle of climate chaos. They then state this: 2 things must go away: climate delayism and speaking about climate change impacts in the future tense. It's here. Let's list a third missing component that this UN report didn't mention: the climate engineering denialism, and the fact that there can be no legitimate discussion about the climate from any perspective without including climate engineering first and foremost. Is climate engineering the secret weapon that will save us all from ourselves? Or in fact, have these operations already been ongoing and expanding for over 75 years? They're not just a proposal, going on in plain sight, no pun intended. For our new on-air listeners, climate engineering, aka solar radiation management, is described by the science community as jet aircraft spraying lingering climate engineering particulate trails into our skies. The atmospheric particles are then manipulated with extremely powerful ground-based frequency transmitters. Manipulating the particles manipulates the air mass, which in turn manipulates the weather. For the record, these are all patented processes which have been well documented scientifically for decades. The other science community stated objective of climate engineering is to fill the skies with sun-blocking toxic filth to slow the heating of the planet, they say, except that the particles trap more heat than they deflect, along with completely disrupting rain patterns, destroying the ozone layer, while ubiquitously contaminating the entire planet and every breath we take. This is Dane Wigington with geoengineeringwatch.org. You're listening to the weekly installment of Global Alert News, the end of the world as we know it broadcast, commercial-free, non-political, and covering the most dire and immediate threats we collectively face. Moving on.
And welcome back to the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you, Dane Wigington, for your dedication and commitment to nonstop bringing forth the truth about our planet and about the genocide program that's ongoing. And may these wicked find forgiveness before the Father of Light, because they've destroyed his world. I feel sorry for them. Okay, and we're going to go now to a read of Gaskell. And I just need to get myself a little more light up above, so stand by for that. And hope everybody's doing well today and had a safe holiday here in the U.S. with Thanksgiving, and always a reason to be thankful. That's the only holiday I actually officially recognize as Thanksgiving, because there's always a reason to be thankful, ladies and gentlemen. So absolutely. All right. So we're in the Dictionary of All Scriptures and Myths by G.A. Gaskell. The book is published by Gramercy. And well, look at that. I just realized I had, well, it was given definitions on Egypt here. I assume I had done that on a previous program because I was right in line for number 8. So, and then we got, the next one is the elements of 5, but I'll save that one for next time. Okay, so we'll go into, I was really curious about what it was saying about Egypt, though. I'm going to do a sample of this definition just to see where it's going, because that's egg. Egg was a really big one. Egypt, from the point, and Egypt is a corruption. It's really Meitzar, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, and then they switched it out. The occultists took away the word Meitzar because it is a special word. That's why Mary also was originally called Meitzar, Meitzarem, plural, Meitzarem, and the sun is referred to as Meitzar, the Mezar. Okay, the mother star, and the eye of the mother star. There's all these different elements that come out of that, but that's because the Nile River was a paradise, right? In the sands of the desert, it was an oasis along the river, and so anyway, just want to point that out. From the point of view of the Greeks, the Hebrews, Egypt is a symbol of the lower mental plane with its knowledge of the things of the world and the object of desire. The objects of desire, plural. Out of Egypt have I called my son, Matthew 2:15. Out of the mental experiences or learning is the divine child, the son of mind, man, a shan. Educated, there we go, educated, maybe it should say enlightened, as a means to the end of the soul's salvation. This Egypt, that is our present life, which oppressed us, says oppressed past tense, but I want to say oppresses us present tense. When flattering, may aid when pressing us, and that which, when cherishing, crushed us with the yoke of bondage, may show the way of liberty while it tortures. St. Gregory, Morals on the Book of Job, Volume 3, page 147. I think I'll read these elements of Egypt. I think it's a good one, and I'll do 8 next time, but this looks too interesting to pass up here. In the word, by Egypt is signified the science of the natural man. Swedenborg, Apocalypse, Revelations 134. In denoting the world and the body, Egypt denotes, and denoting the world and the body, Egypt denotes the lessons to be derived from both of these, the learning of which is indispensable to the soul, to the soul's development. The Perfect Way, page 234. See Bondage, Exodus, Parable, Pearl, Southland, Thoth. Thoth would be associated with Hermes and also Mercury, the same characters, and also representing Yeshua, actually, the messenger. Egypt, higher or southern, the symbol of the higher mental plane, or of the Buddhic Manas, the Buddhai Manas. Remember, Buddhai is the bud that is waiting to open up. So you have a Buddhai, a body, and it's waiting to open up. That's the flower. The proverbial lotus flower coming out of your navel is you, opening up, your walls coming down, the stone being rolled away, and your flower opening to the greater expanse of the true life. Okay, a symbol again, Egypt, higher or southern, a symbol of the higher mental plane or the Buddha Manas level of the consciousness. The half mythical land in the south was known to the Mitzrayim Egyptians as the land of the gods. Sayce, Gifford Lectures 134. And Cronus, Amun, going to the land of the south, gave the whole of Metzar to the god Tot or Thoth to be his kingdom. Can't even say that guy's name. Corey's Fragments. Okay, but the elder of the two children, Isis, took with her and set sail with the chest to Egypt, Metzar. And it being now about morning, the river Phaedrus, sending forth a sharp air, she, in her anger, dried up its current. That's Plutarch, Isis, and Osiris, subsection 16. But the mental faculty was raised by Buddha, also here called Isis, and this Isis is a corruption of the word Aisha. Aisha means the royal eye, and therefore it refers to all of us. We are all royal eyes, or at least supposed to be, ladies and gentlemen, so that the consciousness was elevated to the plane of the higher intellect, it being now the dawn of truth, or perception of reality. Then the lower mind, which was filled with cut and dried opinions and wind of doctrine, was superseded. But there were others who said that the struggle between Horus and Set went on with alternating success until at last Thoth was appointed arbiter and divided Egypt, Metzar, between the two foes. Southern Metzar, Egypt, was given to Horus, and northern Metzar, Egypt, was given to Set. Plutarch, Isis, and Osiris, subsection 19. But those minds of narrow vision who saw not the life entering into illumination, and who perceived only the shattering of form after form. I just want to point out, I transliterated the word glory as it should be into illumination, all illumination more correctly, not ill, but we'll have to deal with it. But you can see how perfectly it fits, and that this word glory is one of the biggest code words of all, ladies and gentlemen. It is. It has like 20 or 30 different possible meanings, and it's a code word because they didn't want us to get the meaning of this particular word that it's supplementing. So I'll try it again. But those minds of narrow vision who saw not the life entering into illumination, and who perceived only the shattering of form after form, as they watched from below the struggle between light and darkness as good and evil, but it's supposed to be basic of the primary, and the primary is light and darkness, said that union of the soul with the great Zulafhaim, Elohim, God, was not fully accomplished until the mind Thoth, the message, was appointed arbiter and reserved for the spirit and the emotion nature, each its appointed sphere, which arrangement at length on the higher planes appears inverted as spirit operates seemingly on the lower planes. Spirit, Horus, manifests on the astral plane under the aspect of love, through which the soul's evolution is proceeded with. Egypt signifies Kama Manas. Southern Egypt for Horus is the more monastic and solar. Northern Egypt for Set is the more kamic and lunar. See Ameni, chest, Isis, Northland, Nubia, South, Southland, and Thoth. Egypt, lower or northern. And I just want to point out, ladies and gentlemen, why it's relevant to studying these different mythologies from these other cultures is because the whole symbolism, if you remember reading the scripture, when they were coming out of Meitzar, Egypt, they then borrowed the gold from the Egyptians, and the Egyptians were given anything that Israel was asking for, they gave. Okay, and they gave them willingly, and because they knew they were being cursed by the plagues that were coming after them, and so they knew they couldn't eat their gold, and they were already beginning to starve to death. They would give them anything to appease their God and hope for a better conclusion. But the symbolism, remember, everything happens for a reason, and it tells a story. The symbolism of borrowing the gold. Now, remember, if you borrowed gold, well, they weren't giving it back, so borrowing would not have been the right word, but that they were taking the gold from Meitzar. And so the gold is symbolic of the mythology. The mythology is their story. It is their mythos, their mother, that is a part of their traditions. Okay, and so this is where Clement wrote about the law of syzygy, and the law of syzygy means that before the true one would come, many false ones would come first. And so notice that Osiris is the savior, right? A savior type. Thoth is thought, the royal messenger, and that represents then Yeshua, you see. And so all of these are all parallels. So we're reading a type of our mythology in our Savior's story through Israel, through the seed of light, Yaakov, Jacob. Okay, so I wanted to point that out, that just like if you read Greek mythology, then the Titans, when you read about the Titans, you're reading about the fallen Aryan watchers, okay, who mated with the children of Cain and decided to enslave mankind. So this is relevant because we have to expand our consciousness and to be able to make these connections and parallels because it's relevant to our story. These stories, in other words, because the Watchers knew about the end of time when the Savior would come, and they knew that he was, the Messiah was the Savior of mankind from the fallen state of man and the second born and all this stuff. They knew all that. That's why they could create their phony religions in the temples in Meitzar, in Sumer, in Greece, in Persia, wherever, India, they all had their savior. Shiva, right? Krishna, sounds like Christ, right? Krishna. Shiva sounds like Yeshua. You see, it's all parallel. And so there's one true savior, and the other ones are types. Yet the beauty is, but behind the greatness of the Father, since innocent people are following these other traditions, if they indeed purified their heart and lived a pure life, then the natural law of the Great Spirit would shine upon them. People have always been entering into the kingdom of light, but not the corrupted ones, not the haters and the murderers and the deceivers and the thieves and the corrupted. They don't transcend, but there are good people in all cultures. Yeshua was trying to set us free from all of these priesthoods and these dogmas, and to give us a simple way of purification by going through the water, and then coming up a second-born creation, because the firstborn was born into darkness, the second-born is born into light. Okay, so I just want to point those things out, that there is a reason, for reading particular. I don't read all the what do you want to say, the definitions from these other cultures, but like we know that Egypt is a relevant story, and so it's we want to know all we can about them in regard to how they also interacted with the tribe of the sovereign Abraham. Abraham being a corruption, he never was a Ham. Right? You imagine they couldn't call him a Ham, right? These JEWs are calling him a Ham, and they say they're from that tradition. No, they're not. They're great gatekeepers, All right, back to the story here. So Egypt, lower or northern? We just did southern. Now we're doing northern. A symbol of the lower mental plane, or the Kama Manas level of consciousness. Many are the marvels which see Osiri shall do in the land of Meitzar, Egypt, griffin, tails, etc. Illimitable shall be the possibilities which the indwelling self, the Son of God, shall disclose in the regions of the lower planes. See Buto, Joseph, north, land, seed, good, Sai, Osiris, Son of God. And what just flashed with me was the when Moses, he went before Pharaoh. Well, Pharaoh says he's seated on the sun throne. He's saying he represents the Son of Light, the seed of the sun, who Yeshua is, right? So he's claiming to be representing that while he's torturing and enslaving and deceiving and murdering, right? The pure seed of the sun, the seed of light, Israel. And so when he says, what is his name? And I am is not the full. Okay, it's not the full title. I am the one. It would have been the full, but they abbreviate everything. They don't want you getting the full picture because it's about the play of the one. I am the one. And so when Pharaoh's claiming to be the representative of the one, and then Moses comes before him, he's saying, I am the one you are persecuting, in essence. I am the one that you claim to be representing. I am the one who is saying to let my people go, you see? And so there's quite a, interesting picture here that we really never fully get. Okay, so continuing, and that other one, we did that. Okay, Egyptians, one more. A symbol of the lower mental faculties and functions connected with the desires and sensations. And they spoiled the Mitzrayim. They spoiled the Egyptians. How did they spoil them? In every way. They took their gold and they buried them in the sea. Exodus 12:36. This refers to the valuable results of experience. It's referring to the jewels, etc. Accruing, excuse me, in a past soul state, being acquired by the qualities now pressing onward in their development. And Israel saw the Mitzrayim Egyptians dead on the seashore. Exodus 14:30. Do we believe, you and I, in the death of our Mitzrayim Egyptians? What is your Egyptian? Some passion of the flesh or of the mind? For the mind has its tyrannical passions as well as the flesh. Look around. Where are the Egyptians, Mitzrayim? which used to hold the earthly body and the human soul in slavery. The divine right of rulers, the dominion of the priesthood over the intellect and conscience, the ownership of man by man, Ashan by Ashan, the accepted inequality of human lots, the complacent acquiescence in false social states, the praise of ignorance as the safeguard of order, the irresponsible possession of power without corresponding duty, the pure content in selfishness. Do you realize how these bad tyrants of the human race have lost their power over large regions of human life? They are dead Egyptians, and that's what the Freemasons embrace, is it not? Egypt. Is there anything more wonderful than the way in which men today are daring to think of the abolition and disappearance of those things which they used to think were as truly a part of earthly life and the human body, or the ground on which it walks? Ah, my friends, you only show how you are living in the past, not in the present, when you see nothing but material for sport in the beliefs of ardent men, excuse me, and brave societies which set before themselves the humankind the abolition of poverty, the abolition of war, the abolition of ignorance, the abolition of disease, the sweeping away of mere money competition as the motive power of life, the dethronement of fear from the high place which it has held among A, almost above, or held above among the I, almost above, all the ruling and shaping powers of the destiny of man. I recognize in many a frantic cry, the great growing conviction of mankind that nothing which ought not to be need be. The Mizraim Egyptian must die. That is the assurance which is possessing the heart of Ashan, of man. Phillips, Brooks, Mystery of Iniquity, page 60. Sidurga, Exodus, 40 days. Parable, people, shore, sea, Siva, slaughter, tongues, war. And then we'll do the number 8 next time we, actually it's not much. I could, let me see what's following that. Elements, that might be, okay. We'll do number 8 real quick. So, a symbol of entrance into a new state or condition of the soul. The number of 7 signifying completion and perfection of the former state. Or the symbol may refer to duality of aspects of the 4 lower planes. The 8th day is always typical of resurrection. And I just want to mention one thing about Egypt, backing up real quick, is that, you know, when I got into the political activism and I was studying the occult and the governments, and I realized, you know, I said, you know, when we thought that when Israel came out of Meitzar through the water, through the Sea of Blood, that then they left Meitzar behind them. But then I started saying, but you know, it looks like Meitzar has followed us all the way down into modern time, and that's of course the Masonic occult, right? They're the Communist Party, the Mother Sons of Darkness. Masonic means Mother Sons of Darkness, that embrace Egypt. So go figure. And in the Old English Dictionary that I've now published, right in there, every word dealing with Egypt is means evil, wickedness, darkness. So they're calling it wickedness, right? but originally it was a paradise. But the point is, it was, and that's why it was called Mitzrayim, right? Mitzrayim, the mother's eye. The mother's eye. Why? Because that the life was thriving on the river, and so it was an oasis along the river, and so, but they changed it to Egypt because they the occult embrace it, and Egypt means number 8. By the way, that's the code for Egypt is 8. Why? Because it means return, return, and they want to go back to the past. They want to turn the clock back before John the Baptist had his head cut off, because when his head was cut off, it was symbolic of the world, the time changing through Yeshua, the golden age of enlightenment. And so, so getting back again to this number 8, a symbol of the entrance into a new state or condition of the soul. The number 7 signifying completion of the former state, or the soul may refer to duality of aspect on the 4 lower planes. The 8th day is always typical of resurrection. And so the day Yeshua rose is called the 8th day. He started on a Sunday, the first day of the week, and then he ends that last week by rising on a Sunday. So the 8th day is like going back to the beginning. Now, what does the week start with? The sun, telling us that everything starts with a star. There's the word star in start, right? Everything starts with the star. And so then it ends with the star. And so it goes all the way back now. That which is first is like that which is last, and that which is last is like that which is first. So he's raised on the 8th day, returned to that primordial state that was before creation, the true rest, the true peace within the Great Father, the Yahweh. The 8th day is always typical of resurrection, the day after the 7th, or the Shavat, Sabbath, answers to the first day of the week on which the Moshiach, Christ, rose. And think about it, the 7th day of the week is Saturn's day. It's the furthest in the darkness out there, furthest away from the sun, Saturn. But Saturn is the corruption of the word soul turn, and it means to turn back to the sun. You see? So it's all in the words that they've corrupted. 7 days include the periods proper to the first creation. The 8th day brings us in the type into a new order of things. That's A Jukes, the law of the offerings, page 30. 8 is the number of regeneration, hence by far the greater number of the old fonts and baptisteries are octagonal. They have 8 sides for baptism, right? That's another form of another star. That's Fe, whom, symbolism, etc., page 14. See boat of the earth, Dropner, Agdod, Sabbath, Sunday, Udgitha. All right, and that's the Dictionary of Scriptures and Myths for today, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to a break, and when we get back, we'll bring on the Odes of Solomon, and also a read from the Gospel of the Essenes. And then the next part will bring on the original, a read from a lost gospel, which is the source gospel for Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. One of them, there's actually 3. This is one that was just a new discovery here. So, okay, we're going to take a quick break. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Glad you're tuned in. Hope you're telling your friends about the broadcast.
When Joseph was an old man was he. He married Virgin Mary, the Queen of Galilee. He married there were berries and cherries as thick as may be seen. Then Mary said to Joseph, so meek and so mild, Joseph, gather me some cherries, for I am with child. Joseph, gather me some cherries, for I am with child. Then Joseph flew in anger flew he. Let the father of the baby gather cherries for thee. Let the father of the babies gather cherries for thee. Then up spoke baby Jesus from out Mary's womb. Bowed down, he told his tree that my mother might have some. Bowed down, he told his tree that my mother might have some. So bend down the tallest tree to touch Mary's hand, said she. Oh, look now, Joseph, I have cherries at command, said she. Oh, look now, Joseph, I have cherries at command. When Joseph was an old man was he. He married Virgin Mary, the Queen of Galilee. He married Virgin Mary, the Queen of Galilee.
And welcome back to the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. Ask Dezert-Owl on the Forbidden History Live series and the Original Thought Transliteration program. That is such a beautiful song. Unfortunately, Joseph gets a bad rap for something that really never happened, but it's still a beautiful song nonetheless. And of course, that was his attitude at the beginning until he had the vision and then was set straight on the true purpose of his wife. And yeah, so we had two people from the line of Tavat, David, and quite a story, ladies and gentlemen, that we have been handed for our legacy. So we're in O3. O2 was missing, and picking it up from what we read on Wednesday, I am putting on the love of the Yahweh, and his members are with me, and I am dependent on them, and he loves me. For I should not have known how to love the Yahweh, the great sunrise of the great Father, if he had not continuously loved me, who is able to distinguish love, except the one of the many, who is love. I love the only loved seed, and I myself love him. And where his rest is, there am I as well. And I will be no foreigner, because there is no jealousy with the Yahweh, the mother star in the eye of the return, who is merciful. I have been united to him, because the lower has found the only love seed of the lover has found the only love seed, because I love him, that is the son seed. So I will become a son seed. Indeed, the I, who is joined to him, who is immortal, truly will be immortal. And he who delights in the life will become living. This is the A spirit of the Yahweh, or Spirit of the Lord, which is not false, which seed plants, teaches the seed of the moon to know his ways. Seed of the moon is the original for Son of Man. Be wise and comprehending and vigilant. Hallelujah. And then we'll do that on every Sunday, a little short read on the Odes of Solomon, ladies and gentlemen. And now we'll pick it up in the Gospel of the Essenes. Typically, when breaking bread on Sundays, I always like to read one of these, each the ode and then these writings, these poetic writings of the Essene. The Essene has gotten a bad rap by the Jews, of course, because they tried to disassociate the Essene from Yeshua, but they were the separated ones. The term Pharisee means separated ones, but they weren't separated from corruption. They were the corruptors. They were the Babylonians following the Babylonian Talmud. And so the true separate ones were the Essene, who wanted nothing to do with the temple and its corruptions. And then they established purification rites and their own customs in Qumran, on the edge of the Dead Sea, near the caves. And so they were the ones who were waiting for the Mashiach. They knew the time was near, and they were preparing themselves to receive their elder brother, Yeshua. So they were good to go, in contrast with like the fishermen, right, who had to come to a conscious level of realizing this higher state of being. And so there were two kinds. One was the monastic, and then there was the regular people that Yeshua was bringing in. All of them relevant to follow, you know. So, and of course, it's well established in the other writings that Joseph, his stepfather, Yeshua's stepfather, was an Essene. That John the Baptist was an Essene, lived with them, and then came out when it was time. He also lived in his own cave, apparently, but he was associated with the Essenes. And so they're a part of this story and legacy. But what the Jews have tried to do is make like they were adversaries with Yeshua. They weren't adversaries. They were, in fact, when Yeshua, I point out in, was it in the Kaledi or is it the Nazarene? I can't remember off the top of my head, but after the fasting for 40 days, then the royal family found Yeshua starved to death, and they took him immediately to the Essene encampment to be nurtured and regenerated and have his life saved, because he was starving to death. And so that's where he comes from when he comes back to the Jordan, and they see him now, after his fast. That's where he had come from. It was there where his mother revealed the gifts to him of the wise men, the frankincense, the myrrh, and the gold. This was all presented to him at that time. So this is why reading each of the star messages of enlightenment, the Gospels, is relevant, because there, there's a little bit of the element in each different gospel, and so certainly they need to be compared and looked at. I myself, I don't leave any stone unturned. Okay, as as Ninja knows for sure. All right, here we are. I gotta let me take a little bit of the silver. I'm having a little bit of a voice problem now. And sorry about that. Let me take a sip of my drink. All right. So we're the first of the of these metaphorical poems is the earthly mother. Honor your earthly mother, that your days may be long upon the land. Now we're told to honor our mother and father, but the true honor is in reference to the great father and the Elohimic mother, and because they disassociate, they only have the father mentioned, right, in our scriptures, but yet the mother and the father are both mentioned in the original scriptures. Yeah, you can't have a mother without a father, can't have a father without a mother. They go together. And so honor your earthly mother, that your days may be long upon the land. The earthly mother is in you, and you are in her. She bore you. She gives you life. It was she who gives you your bodhe, your body, your bud eye. And to her shall you one day give it back again. Happy are you when you come to know her and her royal domain. If you receive your mother royal messengers, and if you perform her law, excuse me, need to cough. The one who doth these things shall never see disease. For the power of our mother is above all. And it's just talking about the physical creation. The force that is behind it, of course, is the spirit, and it is the Father. She has rule over all the bodies of men and all living things. The blood which runs in us is born of the blood of our earthly mother. Her blood falls from the clouds, leaps up from the womb of the earth, babbles in the brooks of the mountains, flows wide in the rivers of the plains, sleeps in the lakes, rages mightily in the tempestuous seas. The air which we breathe is born of the breath of our earthly mother. Her breath is azure in the heights of the sky, sows in the tops of the mountains, whispers in the leaves of the forest, billows over the fields of grain, slumbers on the deep valleys, burns hot in the desert. The hardness of our bones is born of the bones of our earthly mother, of the rocks and of the stones. They stand naked to the sky. On the tops of the mountains they are as giants that lie asleep. On the sides of the mountains, as idols in the desert, as idols set in the desert, and are hidden in the deepness of the earth, speaking about the mountains, is born of the flesh of our earthly mother, whose flesh waxes yellow and red in the fruits of the trees, and nurtures us in the furrows of the field. The light of our eyes, the hearing of our ears, both are born of the colors and sounds of our earthly mother, which enclose us about. As the waves of the sea a fish, as the eddying air a bird, Ashan is the son of the earthly mother, and from her did the seed of the son of man also, receive his whole body, even as the body of the newborn babe is born of the womb of his mother. You are one with earthly mother. She is in you, and you are in her. Of her wert you born, and in her do you live. Excuse me. And to her shall you again return. Keep therefore her laws. Maintain her pure shelter. For none can live long, neither be happy, but he who honors his earthly mother. And that would be, in other words, the same thing would be like honoring the body, honoring all physical creation is honoring the earthly mother. But for he who knows his earthly mother and does her law, her pure shelter, for the breath is her breath, your breath is her breath, your blood is her blood, your bone is her bone, your flesh is her flesh, your eyes and your ears are her eyes and your ears, our earthly mother. Always are we embraced by her. Always are we surrounded by her beauty. Neither can we part from her. Never can we know her depths. Ever doth she create new forms. That which now existed never was before. That which did exist returneth not again. In her royal domain all is ever new, and always old. In her midst do we live, yet we do not know her. Continually does she speak to us, yet never does she betray us to her great secrets. Ever do we till her soil and harvest her crops, yet we have no power over her. Ever does she build, ever does she destroy, and her workplace is hidden from the eyes of a shun. And the next one we do next week will be the Royal Messenger of Power. And we're going to another break, and we'll be right back. I need to check my throat here, ladies and gentlemen. I had a little problem. And okay, so don't go away. I'll be right back.
Now we can see a new world coming into view. A world in which there is the very real prospect of a new world order.
The New World Order does not mean surrendering our national sovereignty or forfeiting our interests.
well, it doesn't show. How can I contain this anguish and this pain, knowing that your eyes are blinded by the lies? Have your eyes been blinded by the lies? Have your eyes been blinded by the lies? Yes, your eyes are blinded by the lies. Yes, your eyes are blinded by the lies. Have your eyes been blinded by the lies? Yes, your eyes are blinded by the lies.
Starry, starry night, paint your palette blue and gray. Look out on a summer's day with eyes that know the darkness in my soul. Shadows on the hills, sketch the trees and the daffodils, catch the breeze and the winter chills in colors on the snowy linen land. Now I understand what you tried to say to me, and how you suffered for your sanity, and how you tried to set them free. They would not listen, they did not know how. Perhaps they'll listen now. Starry, starry night, flaming flowers that brightly blaze, swirling clouds in violet haze, reflect in Vincent's eyes of china blue, colors changing hue. Morning fields of amber grain, weathered faces lined in pain, are soothed beneath the artist's loving hand. Now I understand what you tried to say to me, and how you suffered for your sanity, and how you tried to set them free. They would not listen, they did not know how. Perhaps they'll listen now, for they could not love you, but still your love was true. And when no hope was left inside on that starry, starry night, you took your life as lovers often do. But I could have told you, Vincent, this world was never meant for one as beautiful as you. Starry, starry night, portraits hung in empty halls, frameless heads on nameless walls, with eyes that watch the world and can't forget, like the strangers that you've met, the ragged men in ragged clothes, a silver thorn, a bloody rose, lie crushed and broken on the virgin snow. Now I think I know what you tried to say to me, and how you suffered for your sanity, and how you tried to set them free. They would not listen, they're not listening still. Perhaps they never